Hello my spooky besties, I am back with another ambitious video. I am Chantel and this is my spooky library. Okay, so as I mentioned in the short little intro, this is another ambitious video. I don't know if you can see this. This isn't even half of it. So this is going to be my pile of possibilities for the reading portion of Old School April. I have quite a few that I don't own that I do want to get to, or try to get to at least. So I'm gonna go ahead and do those ones first, and then we'll get into my physical TBR. So the first book that I would like to read is Man-Eater by Cambria Herbert. I love how nostalgic, retro, vibey this cover is, and I cannot wait to dive into it. This might be the first one I get to. And then I have Dead Girl Blues by David Sodergren. This I can use for two different prompts that I know for sure of. My main idea was to use it for the indie author prompt because I couldn't think of any other author that would fit this with like the nostalgic vibe. So I'm going to try David Sodergren out, and then it can also be used for Giallo because that is a Giallo cover if I ever saw one. So looking forward to that. And then I have Kelsi's pick, which is Mother Dear by Ivy Tolene. I have a feeling I said that name wrong, but yeah, this cover and this book just looks amazing. And there are quite a few other Ivy Tolene books that I would like to get like my hands on and try to read for OSA, but that would be a little overkill in my opinion. But I do want to touch base again after OSA and read more of this author's work. And then I have Slow Heat in Heaven by Sandra Brown. This one I was thinking about using for the saucy romance prompt, and if it's not like saucy enough, I have other book for backup, I guess is what I can say. But I planned on buddy reading this with my aunt, so I thought it would fit. If not, I have backup. So and then I have one of the books that I would like to read for the picture book is Stelluna by Janelle Cannon. This book looks so cute, and you can definitely tell that it's a little on the older side of children's books nowadays, so I definitely look forward into picking this one up. There are some other children's picture books that I would like to get into, but I'm just gonna kind of leave that as a mood read option because I mean you could read so many different picture books in a span of a month, so kind of leaving that open. The next one I have is The Last Girl on Earth by Tom Ryerson. I don't remember what prompt I was using this one for, but just the cover alone gives like early 2000s book covers, so that is definitely going to be fun. It does sound kind of emotional, so I guess we'll see. A book with nostalgic vibes that I would love to get to because I've been putting this on TBR after TBR after TBR is The Southern Book Club's Guide to Slaying Vampires by Grady Hendrix. I read Paperbacks from Hell last year for OSA, and I was just completely captivated by not only the knowledge that I gained from that book, but just his writing. So I would like to read something of his that's more of a novel than nonfiction. So I have Dragon's Blood by Jane Yolen. And then I have The Saturday Night Ghost Club. I am currently having issues finding this one. I do still need to look on Hoopla and see if I can find it there. I am really struggling with the prompt for this one too, so hopefully I can find it on Hoopla and then I can just read this one. If not, I'm gonna have to search for it at some other point without pushing my TBR video further and further and further back. And then I have the Song of Everlasting Sorrow by 𝙰𝚘𝚊𝚆𝚐𝚘𝚗. This is a translated book. I believe it's translated from Japanese. So I love the cover of this book and it just sounds amazing. And I was lucky enough to be able to find a Kindle copy of this one for pretty cheap. So I'm very excited to get into this one. 𝚬𝚘 by Judy Blume. And then these next two books are for the coming of age prompt. I'm having a hard time finding A Time of Death by Louise McDaniel. So my backup is the Mammoth Boy's Life by Robert McCammon. So I know Kelsi likes this book and this author, and so I'm really excited to have this one on my TBR as a backup if need be. And then the last one I have is for the sequel prompt, which is Fractured by Karen Slaughter. This is the second book in the Will Trent series. Editing Chantel here. Well, I was doing the ebook library books. I forgot to mention the novella for I Know You Are What Am I, or whatever that prompt is. That is Kin by Bruce McAllister. There are much more books that I don't own that I would like to get to in the month of April, but this is already pretty big of a TBR, so we'll see where we get. But I'm going to go ahead and get into my physical books. I'm going to start with this one because I am currently borrowing it from my godmother, and that is Hickory Dickory Death by Agatha Christie. This is a book in the Hercule Poirot murder mystery series. I have been wanting to read an Agatha Christie book for quite some time, so this is like the perfect opportunity. And I just noticed that she puts like little stickers of the month and year that she's read it. So that's super cute. But I do need to get these back to her soon. So that is another reason why. And then I have Enterprise, The First Adventure by Vonda and McIntyre. And this is a Star Trek book. I am not a big Trek fan. I'm more of a Star Wars fan, but I do want to dip my toe in the Star Trek world and try. And then I have this mammoth that is 4 Past Midnight by Stephen King. I have quite a few King books on this TBR, if I'm being honest. I have The Dragonbone Chair by Tad Williams. This book I'm using for 2 prompts. I'm using it for Large Marge, and I think pages over 300 pages, and that is The Witching Hour by Anne Rice. I have been putting this off for so long just because of how chunky it is, but it's just finally time to break down and pick this one up, and I couldn't be more excited about it now. And then I have Naked in Death by J.D. Robb, Remember Me by Christopher Pike. This book I put on last year's and didn't get to it, so I really want to try super duper hard to get to it this year, but that is The Entity by Frank D. Fillida. And then I have the first book for the Will Trent series, and that is Triptych by Karen Slaughter. And this one gives gelato vibes with the yellow cover. Okay, for this prompt, I was struggling super bad with. I was gonna go with Wicked, but then I'm like, that's also chunky, and there's quite a few chunky books on this TBR already, so I am going with Truth or Dare by, this was MC King that it was adapted by, but it is based on the TV show Hannah Montana. I have The Perks of Being a Wallflower by Stephen Chbosky. This is the reason why the movie was on my Old School April movie hopeful watch list. I would like to read this and then go back and rewatch the movie. And then we have the copycat prompt, which is to read a like knockoff Goosebumps book, and I have the entire current release series of the creepers, and I have the first one, The Piano, and the second one, Stage Fright. I probably could read this whole series in the month of April, but I do want to get into them and give them a try. As I was making this TBR, I had 2 other books for this prompt, and I switched them twice. And the prompt is a female writer or a female protagonist, and with her just passing, I just feel like it's the perfect time to sit down and actually read the series, because I really do adore the TV series. But that is the first book in the Vampire Diaries series, The Awakening by L.J. Smith. For mixed media, I have Daisy Jones and the Six by Taylor Jenkins Reid. I think this one is for New Kids on the Block, which is a new to you author, and I was recently gifted this by my aunt, and I would like to get to it and figure out what it's all about. But that is The Alchemist by 𝚘𝚘 𝚘𝚘. I'm 100% sure I butchered that one. I don't remember what prompt this one was for, but I do want to get to it because I made a big old plan last year and bought a crap ton of this author's books and just never got to it. So it's time to get to it, and that is The Blue Castle by L.M. Montgomery. This one is to read a true life book, and this one sounds like it is very, very heavy. So I am really looking forward to it. My aunt also gifted me this one, and I feel like I'm going to resonate with it quite a bit because it says on the cover, Young and Depressed in America, but that is Prozac Nation by Elizabeth Wurtzel. I love the cover of this book. I love the vibe that it gives off, and I just feel like this is going to be a perfect fit. And then the next book I have is kind of crazy to be able to consider this a retro book now, seeing as I read this in middle school, but that is Twilight by Stephanie Meyer. I have been wanting to reread this series for a while now and get to the newest one, Midnight Sun, and Edward's point of view, the life and death one. So I figured, why not give it a try and start it this month? And then I have another hard-hitting mental health book, and I have heard that this one is very heavy, and my husband says that he thinks that I would relate to it a lot, but that is Speak by Lori Halse Anderson. And then we have the prompt of You're In For a Scare, and that is to read a Goosebumps book, and I plan on reading the Tales to Give You Goosebumps Special Edition 1, 10 Spooky Stories by R.L. Stine. I love this cover. It's a little beat up, but I love it, and I cannot wait to read these stories. And then we have a book that this could also fit for anyway, Giallo, which is yellow on the cover, but this one I'm planning to use for Scary Spice, and that is a book that has a frightened person on the cover, and that is Joyland by Stephen King. I put this on my old school April TBR last year for the same prompt that it is this year, and that is to read a neon book, and that is Meddling Kids by Edgar Cantero. I am so glad that I finally own this one, and I feel like it's fitting because I am on Team Scoobies, so I'm hoping that this doesn't let me down because I have heard a lot of mixed things about this one. And then while we're on the topic of Scooby-Doo, there's a graphic novel series called Scooby-Doo Apocalypse or something like that I would like to check out during Old School April, and then the children's graphic novel series of Scooby-Doo that I would like to check out. Next book I have is Salem's Lot by Stephen King, and this is for the Monster Squad prompt, and that is because it is a vampire book. There was another book that I wanted to put for this prompt, but I didn't feel like it fit the nostalgic vibe. So for the halfway to Halloween prompt, I plan to read The Halloween Tree by Ray Bradbury. I planned on reading this for Halloween-a-thon last year and I never got to it, so I plan on getting to it this month. A book that made you cry, The Fault in Our Stars by John Green, which is why the movie is on my movie hopeful list. I would like to watch it after reading it. I do remember just absolutely sobbing my eyeballs out to this one. And then my dad ordered the movie and we watched it together and I sobbed again like a baby. So, and then we have The Secret of the Old Clock, and this is by Carolyn Kenny. And this is the first book in the Nancy Drew mystery series. I have read some of these, you know, growing up. And when I saw this box set, brand new, not unwrapped, nothing, good condition for only like $17, I had to snag it. So I do have like the first 5 or 6 of this series. And then I have Charlie and the Chocolate Factory by Ronald Dahl. This is for the Breakfast Club prompt, which is food on the cover. And it's really kind of hard to tell, but there's like scattered candy pieces on the cover, so hopefully this counts. And then the last book I have is Dead 11 by Jimmy Giuliano, and this is old technology on the cover, and it has a VHS tape, so I feel like this just fits perfectly. And there are some other like VHS style covers of books that I do have saved to my Goodreads that I would like to check out that would also fit for this prompt. And then, like I had mentioned, there are, and then for, like I mentioned, that there are other books that I don't own that I would like to get to, but then I do have the first books in these 2 series that I would like to get to. I did put the one on there for last year and did start reading it, but never finished it. So I would like to do that this year, and that is Double Love, which is the first book in the Sweet Valley High series by Francine Pascal. And then the first book in the Babysitter's Club, Christie's Great Idea by Anne M. Martin. There are other Sweet Valley books that I would like to get to other than Sweet Valley High. There's like Sweet Valley Twins, and I think there's like Sweet Valley University or something like that. But I would like to get to those. But there are a ton of like middle grade YA vintage books that I would like to get to. And then there are some vintage adult horror that I would like to get to as well. So yeah. As you can see, it is a very big, ambitious TBR. April starts tomorrow, so I'm so excited to start this event and keep going with it as long as Kelsey has it. So that is all I have for you guys for this video. So I will see you guys in the next one. Stay spooky, my friends. Gelato? That's an ice cream dessert something or other.